When I died, everything stopped. The sound of the monitors, the voices of the doctors, even my own heartbeat, gone. For the first time, I wasn't afraid. It was like every fear I'd ever had was swallowed by this quiet, this impossible, sacred stillness. I remember looking down and realizing I was floating, my body below me, lifeless, surrounded by chaos, nurses calling for help, machines screaming in panic. But up here, it was peaceful. Then something strange happened. The room around me began to dissolve like smoke carried by wind, and out of that fading reality, a light appeared, not blinding but living. It pulsed, almost like a heartbeat, and with each pulse I felt something inside me awaken. I knew I was no longer in the hospital. I was standing in a place that felt endless, like eternity itself had a form, and then from that light I heard a voice, gentle, steady, eternal. It said, "This is the final message before the silence." At first, I thought I was imagining it, but then the light shifted and formed into a presence so radiant, so familiar, that I fell to my knees without even thinking. It was Jesus, but he wasn't angry. He wasn't even stern. He looked heartbroken, like someone watching their children run toward a cliff, unable to make them stop. He said, "My people have learned to speak about me, but they no longer listen to me." As he spoke, the scene changed. I saw cities, alive with color, filled with screens, noise, and endless motion. People, scrolling, shouting, posting, yet completely alone. Churches filled with sound systems and lights, but empty of presence. Voices preaching, but few hearts praying. Then he whispered, "Before the silence comes, my spirit will call once more." This is that call. I asked, "Lord, what do you mean by the silence?" He looked at me, and suddenly, everything went dark. I was shown a vision, not of fire, not of war, but of emptiness. A world where people no longer heard his voice, where prayers felt unanswered, miracles unnoticed, hearts numb. Not because God was gone, but because the world had chosen the noise over the whisper. I saw families sitting together but never speaking, children staring into glowing screens while angels wept behind them. I saw believers arguing online while heaven watched in sorrow, and over it all that same phrase echoed, "The silence is not my absence, it is the sound of hearts that no longer listen." Tears filled my eyes. I wanted to scream, to promise I would tell them, to beg for another chance. Jesus placed his hand on my shoulder. I could feel power, fire, and love, all at once. He said, "You are alive in an hour when many sleep. Speak before the silence covers the earth. Tell them I am still speaking, but few are still." Then I saw time speeding up, like the days themselves were racing, wars breaking out, nations dividing, believers distracted by 1,000 little fires, missing the great one about to begin. He turned and looked into the distance, into something I couldn't see, and said softly, "When the silence begins, it will not come with thunder, but with distraction. That will be the loudest quiet the world has ever known." Then the light began to fade. The golden glow around him dimmed into silver. The warmth grew cold, and all I heard was that single sentence repeating, "Before the silence, speak." And then I fell, through clouds, through darkness, through memories, and I woke up in the hospital, gasping for air. Doctors surrounding me. They said my heart had stopped for 6 minutes, but I remember every second like it happened outside of time. For weeks after, I couldn't sleep. Every sound felt sharp, every silence sacred. I'd walk outside and feel like heaven was still watching, waiting for someone to listen. And one night I heard that same whisper again, "Before the silence, speak." That's why I'm here. That's why I'm sharing this, because the world is changing faster than we think. And maybe this isn't just about me. Maybe this is the final message, not to fear, but to remember that the quiet place is still where he speaks. If you've been praying and hearing nothing, if you've been begging God to speak again, maybe he already is. Maybe this is it. Before the silence, speak.